to this evening's Parent University. Our focus tonight is becoming an elementary parent. Now, some of you maybe have had students who have already been a part of District 204, and you're just coming to see if anything is new. And some of you, this might be your first child who's going to experience an opportunity within our district. So our goal this evening is to provide you with some information about what you can expect in terms of social emotional opportunities as well as academic opportunities for your child, to be able to answer some questions and provide some information in terms of what it will mean for you to get started or your child to get started within the district. So our goal is really for you and your child to have an overall very positive experience, and nothing makes us happier than to see your child happy. So our goal tonight is to give you some information and be a beginning step for our relationship together. I will say, I know sometimes there can be questions as you are initially becoming a part of a school or a district that are more specific about where do I drop my kindergartner off, or will someone help them open their cheese stick if they can't do it? And those types of things that are more school specific, your schools will be offering those opportunities in addition to this evening. Tonight, we're really trying to talk through anything that would apply to any of our 21 elementary schools and what we do to try to support kids and help them all achieve to their fullest potential. So I am Joan Peterson, and like I said, the Director of Elementary Core Curriculum. I will turn it over to Dawn Forkner, and we will get things rolling.
Thank you, Joan. Good evening, everyone. I am so glad. And as I watch the faces pop up on the screen, I love to see the excitement of our kindergarten and first grade parents because it really is the beginning of a journey. As Joan said, my name is Dawn Forkner. I am the district SEL and wellness coordinator, which means that I work with all of our students. I am not building specific. And one of my roles and responsibilities is to put together parent universities and to be part of that team who thinks what sort of information would parents want or want to learn more about. And then throughout the school year, we offer both virtual and in-person sessions like the one that you are attending tonight. Now, as a incoming kindergarten or first grade parent, a question we often get asked is, how can I get involved at my child's school, right? I want to see what's going on. I want to meet other parents. I want to feel like I'm part of the community. And an excellent way to do that is to join your school's PTA. So before we begin the presentation, I have invited Shelby Schultz to go ahead and speak a little bit about how and why families should join PTA. So Shelby, I will pass it over to you.
Thanks so much. Appreciate being here. My name's Shelby Schultz. I am a PTA president at one of the high schools. I have 3 kids who have gone through the district since kindergarten. 2 have now graduated, and my youngest is in 10th grade. So I have been in your shoes many times, although it sounds like it was a long time ago. It really feels like yesterday. So it's a great elementary system to be in. To be part of your school, to see your kids and their friends having fun and learning, the best thing you can do is to join your school's PTA or PTSA. It's the parent volunteer organization that is present at every school. The difference when you see the S in their PTSA, it's Parent Teacher Student Association, and that is in some of our schools, mostly the middle schools. We do things at the elementary level, such as all your fun events, could be spring flings, fall fest. We just are finishing up Teacher Appreciation Week this week. We do dances in the middle school. We help out in the classrooms. Elementaries do a lot of art awareness, LMC volunteers, you name it, we do it, and it's a great way to get involved. Many of you have different schedules, and we work with you, whether it's during the school day, after hours, when you're home relaxing. You can be cutting things for teachers. So I just really encourage everyone to join their PTA, PTSA. You will learn a lot about the school. You will meet a lot of the staff and the administration. And in the end, we are here to help your students have the best elementary experience they can.
Thank you so much, Shelby. And when parents come to open house and curriculum nights, would that be a good time for them to sign up for the PTA? Like, will there be tables?
Yes, we will be doing probably a lot of communications over the summer, getting everyone ready to go from day one. It's an electronic membership. So there is a membership fee, and it's actually going to be going live here in a few weeks for the next school year. So watch the emails from your schools, from your principals, and you will see a lot of information on opportunities and how to join.
All right, wonderful. So let's go ahead and jump right into our reason for being here tonight, which is becoming an elementary school parent. So I've already went ahead and introduced myself. I'm Dawn Forkner, SEL and Wellness Coordinator, and I'm absolutely somebody that you can reach out to at the district if you have questions about social emotional learning in your child's classroom or in their building. But I want to introduce to you now our speakers for this evening, as well as our panelists. So the first half of the evening will be a presentation by Lauren Quinn. She is a kindergarten teacher at Peterson Elementary, and Tracy Schwartz. She is at the district office. She's a positive engagement and student support coach. About halfway through our presentation, we will have some panel questions that were submitted through your registration form. And we have a panel of experts who work at all different elementary buildings. So I did want to take a moment and introduce Sarah Nowak. She is the principal at Welch Elementary. Lindsay Stepper, she is the student service coordinator at Brookdale. Mary Molick is a first grade teacher at Owen Elementary. Luke Radajan is a kindergarten teacher at Georgetown, and Rianne Casconaro is a social worker at Kendall Elementary. So hopefully as these faces pop up, some of you may be a Welch family or a Kendall family or an Owen family. These are just some familiar friendly faces to meet. All right, I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to Lauren. And as Joan mentioned, this is really about the social skills and the SEL skills that we want our students to be ready for, to get prepared for when they enter kindergarten and first grade. So it's not necessarily building specific or about curriculum. It's really about the SEL part of it. So first of all, what is SEL? SEL, and it's an acronym you're going to hear often because it is integrated into every single part of what our kindergarten and first grade, and honestly, all of our students all the way up through high school do as a part of their day. It's social emotional learning. So what social skills do I need to be successful when working with other people, with working with my classmates, with working with my teachers? How do I regulate my emotions? So when I'm having a big feeling, how do I handle that appropriately within my classroom so I can still get my needs communicated, but also be able to calm myself? And then how do I connect those social skills and those emotional skills with my academic learning? So in District 204, we talk a lot about SEL, but we also do a lot of direct instruction with SEL because we know that sometimes our students need lessons and need practice and need modeling in order to develop these skills. So just like we practice math or just like we practice writing, we practice our SEL skills. So what are those SEL skills? What we have here is a wheel. And when you walk into our buildings, you'll probably see this wheel. It's called the CASEL wheel. And what that basically is a group of researchers said, what are the 5 key areas that all students need to be successful, whether they are a preschool student or whether they are senior in high school. And what we do is we look at those 5 areas and we determine what skills are age appropriate for that student to be successful. So the first one is self-management. So my ability to regulate myself, to know how I'm feeling and be able to know what I need. The second one is self-awareness. It's, again, similar to self-management. It is my ability to be aware of how am I behaving, how are my words and actions affecting other people in either a positive or a potentially negative way, and how do I appropriately adjust that? And it sounds like a lot, but honestly, our kindergartners can do that. They become aware of, well, maybe if I make this type of face, or maybe if I say this, my behavior impacts my classmates, or maybe it impacts the way my teacher feels. Social awareness is my ability to interact with other kids. So much of kindergarten, first grade is learning how to be a good friend, learning how to work in groups, learning how to share. So how do I practice and learn those social skills? Which goes nicely into relationship skills, right beyond the classroom. How do I develop those friendships at lunch, at recess? What do I do if we have a conflict and we're not getting along? So those sorts of relationship skills. And finally, responsible decision making, which I'm sure we've all been talking about to our kids about forever, right? When we have a tricky situation and we have 2 choices, how do I know which one is the right choice for me? And how do I make responsible, productive decisions? That's a lot. That CASEL wheel sounds like a lot. But really, when you think about it, it's everything our kids need to be successful. And like I said, we teach math, right? We will teach math from the probably the first week or two they come in the door, counting, recognizing our numbers. We teach reading, we teach writing skills. But just like we have to teach those skills, we also have to teach our SEL skills. So we have a curriculum, it's called Second Step. If you have older children in the district, you may have already seen it. And what it is, it's a curriculum that is broken down into different units that cover those 5 CASEL competencies that I just talked about. And it's super fun because they have puppets and they have stories that go with it, and they have opportunities for the kids to like play games where they're modeling the skills. So it is very kid appropriate, it's very kid friendly, it's very age appropriate, and it's a way for students to just be exposed to different skills socially or emotionally that will help them be a successful student. Lauren, did you want to jump in with anything about Second Step?
Yeah, so those are just for kindergarten. Those are our skills for learning our scope and sequence. So we start off coming in, and you can click again, Jeannie, please. We'll dive a little bit deeper in through the slides. So this was just a great quote. Kindergartners who are stronger in SEL competence are more likely to graduate from high school, complete a college degree, and obtain stable employment in young adulthood. And so again, like Dawn said, we think a lot about academics, but social emotional learning is really that starting point. And without it, we can't do the academics. So that's where we need to start. Okay, so then to dive in a little bit deeper, in kindergarten specifically, the students come into kindergarten and we focus on those skills for learning. We have our good friends Puppy and Snail. They're puppets. The kids cheer for them. They love them. They teach us how to be at school, how to be in different environments. So Puppy comes in and he's running around the classroom and barking and crazy, and we learn to teach Puppy what it means to focus his attention, what it means to listen, what body parts do we use to listen, our eyes, our ears, our brain. We learn how to use self-talk and be assertive. We learn how to remember directions, stay on task, and ignore distractions. The picture at the bottom is actually one of our lessons, and we have Paulo and Samara, is making, airplanes with her pencil and making noises, and Paulo's getting distracted, and we learn to use our self-talk and say, okay, ignore Samara. What am I supposed to do? Draw 3 circles, and he keeps using that self-talk to get him through. And it really is focused on scenarios, and the kids can really relate to those. Next slide, please. Then we go into empathy, which is a new word for a lot of kindergartners. As they grow, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, they're really just about themselves. Everything is about them. And so we're starting to develop that, well, how does this friend feel? And what should I say if this friend is looking or feeling sad? Let's see. So this was an example of Lonnie and Deshawn, and Lonnie lost his special rock, and we go through the scenario of what should I do? Can I help? Can I listen? How can I show compassion? What does someone's face and body look like if they're feeling angry? What does it look like if they're feeling surprised or sad? One of my favorite lessons in this unit is about, well, what do I do if I bump into somebody by accident? Because with body awareness, that happens all the time in kindergarten. So it happens, and somebody might turn around and say, hey, but really it was just an accident. So they do need to learn those words. And sometimes as adults, we just kind of take for granted, we've learned all those ways, but we do need to explicitly teach some of these things to our kiddos. So they have to say, oh, I'm sorry, that was an accident. Are you okay? How can I help? That sort of thing. And next slide, please. Then we move into emotion management. So a lot of our parents can identify, going through the toddler years and kids are really trying to learn how to deal with emotions and how to manage those strong feelings. And it still comes into kindergarten. So, you know, we learn how to take belly breaths, we learn how to count. This is an example of someone who took the book that he wanted and he didn't get what he wanted. And that is a lot of what happens in kindergarten. When we don't get what we want, we're disappointed, we get angry. Well, what do we do next? How do we calm down those feelings? We learn that the brain actually can't think when we are having a strong feeling. And so our job is to calm down our body so that we can think about how to solve our problems. So I added this on here. Our schools are really diving deeper into what we call calm down corners. And so this is the calm down corner in my classroom. And basically it's just a safe place for students to regroup after, you know, having a strong emotion. They can just go and take a break there. They can use the tools in the Calm Kit. They can color, squeeze a stuffy, maybe rock if they need to, just to recollect themselves. And then a few minutes later, they're ready to join the class. I've heard of families using this in their home as well, as a great place in their own home to have that safe spot. We close out the year with problem solving. Problem solving is big for kindergartners. They always want to tell you the problem, and we are really trying to get them to solve their own problems in kindergarten. So they might come up to you and say, somebody was mean to me, somebody took a toy from me, you know, okay, what can you do? How did you try and solve that problem? So some of the things we look at are friendship skills. We go through how to solve a problem. Well, first we have to be able to say what the problem is, and then think of solutions. And then we have to think ahead, what might be the consequences of those solutions if I choose that, and then pick the best one. And so these two girls, there's an example of one wants to play puppets, the other one wants to play blocks. Are we still friends if we want to play different things? Of course we are. We just need to kind of problem solve how to go about that. Another thing we do to support social emotional learning is our morning meetings or class meetings. And this just isn't a kindergarten thing, but it's, you know, all elementary and goes into middle as well. So we start off with some sort of greeting to, you know, from the teacher. There's some sort of sharing piece where students are, you know, working together as a team. The greeting, I'm going to go back a minute. The greeting is where students greet one another. And it's really important for students to be able to hear their name being used. We do some sort of activity, again, to have that class building piece, and then a message from the teacher. So you'll often see students sitting in a circle, making eye contact with one another. And that's, again, to create that safe space, build that community in our classroom. And of course, promote relationships.
Good evening, everybody. We just wanted to wrap this up with, I did a survey a couple of years ago of our kindergarten teachers. What are their top 10 suggestions for our parents and helping their kids get ready for kindergarten? So I want to share those with you, things you can be doing at home now and continuing throughout school. Really trying to find opportunities for them to play with other children, gives them an opportunity to naturally solve some of those conflicts, or to learn how to pro-social their skills with other kids in unstructured play. And we really encourage you to encourage your children to develop some independence around many different things, whether that is putting their coat on, or putting their own dishes away, cleaning up after themselves, remembering something that they need to bring with them, putting their things out, getting ready for school the night before, allows them to grow in that autonomy and learn how to then navigate all the different social and academic situations they'll encounter in school. And once your kids start school, really be curious about your child's day. Ask them fun questions. think of different things you might ask. If you Google this question, you know, what to ask my child when he or she comes home from school, you'll get all kinds of fun lists, but really kind of trying to inquire about their day in different ways, everything from what did they enjoy, what was fun, what was frustrating today, how did they get through it, how did they navigate it, what did they learn new, who did they sit with, things like that, that really lets them know that you care and are curious about their day, but allows them to explore different parts of their day as well. And always play games with your children, any kind of board game, card game, makeup game, outside game, anything where they can practice winning, losing, taking a turn, sharing, all those different skills that will be required for them once they're in school and with a classroom of other students. We really encourage you to talk about your own feelings and building your own feeling and emotions vocabulary. We know as adults, we can get stuck in limited vocabulary there too. And commonly we say we're happy, sad, or angry, but really talking about what it means to be curious, courageous, frustrated, disappointed, embarrassed, really begin to model and build that vocabulary. And then 6, there's a lot of research if you look and talking about letting your child fail, letting them navigate through when they are not perfect or aren't able to accomplish something or they don't win the first time, really helping them develop a growth mindset for, I didn't get it this time, but maybe next time. I don't know it yet, but I can get there. And then we know our kids are always watching us. They learn more from us by what we do than by what we say. So I really encourage us as parents, myself included, to really think about what we're modeling in terms of emotion management. And then last thing, and I know we'll get into this a little bit more, but establishing healthy routines for your kids. You know, don't wait until that night or two before school starts. Try it now, establish them over the summer, talk about why we're doing the things we're doing, get them, checklists can be helpful for kids. First this, then we do this. It helps them to prioritize, stay on task, and know that there's a routine. It helps bring familiarity, and it also helps bring comfort in that structure.
Okay, so to sort of piggyback on what Tracy said, that growth mindset is key. We spent a great deal of our first few weeks talking about growth mindset, and then it continues throughout the year. That power of letting them fail, the power of letting them use that word yet. I can't ride a two-wheeler bike yet. I can't read yet. Lets them know that they're not stuck there. There's always room to grow. Even if you're really great at something, there's more to grow there too. Check in with your child's emotions throughout the day. Like Tracy said, we really talk a lot about those feeling words, so that's somewhere to start. And modeling your feelings. A lot of times I'll do it in front of the kindergartners, like if I've just come back from a meeting and it's went right up to the bell and, you know, the students are coming in, I'll model for them. I'm feeling a little frazzled right now. I think I'm going to take a belly breath to calm down. And, you know, if they see an adult doing it, they are likely to model after that. And then of course, encouraging your child to persist when they come across a problem. And how are you going to try and solve that problem? What thoughts do you have to try and what strategies do you have to try and do that? Again, piggybacking on the play, play is learning. Play encourages problem solving, creativity, managing those emotions. A lot of times we'll see those emotions come out in playtime, and that is our teaching time. So we go back to our second step lesson and we say, oh, that sounds a lot about, you know, how this student did when we had the scenario. How did they solve their problem? What could you do? Drawing, another opportunity to explore that creativity, that pretend play. and outdoor play. We're going to put a plug in for play that is not on technology. So anything that they can do to use their brains and be creative. So more into those routines. So practice getting into, a morning routine and a bedtime routine are good places to start. I'm sure a lot of you have them already, and this isn't new for you, but if you haven't already, I'm also going to put a plug in for building reading into one of those routines. It just gets them going on a good start there. Let's see. And routines are something that students thrive on, as Tracy said. So gave the example, like, we have our routines in our classroom. It's laid out, visuals for them. They know what to expect when they come in. They know when our reading time is, when we learn about social emotional learning, when lunch is. And if something changes in our day, they will be sure to let you know about that. That's not part of the routine, and so we do teach that flexibility too. And, it's okay to do something a little bit different from our routine, but they do thrive on that routine, and that's how they learn best. So we need to put it in place in home as well as school. I can go to following directions. So giving your child 1 and 2 step directions. Put on your coat, then put on your shoes, or go upstairs and get your sweatshirt and then meet me at the door, something like that. See if your child can handle those 2-step directions. We do practice that in kindergarten a great deal. And self-help skills. Like I said, coming into kindergarten, they're looking for the teacher to do a lot, and we are encouraging a lot more independence than they're used to, maybe in their home situation or in preschool settings. But giving your child those opportunities, to open their lunch boxes, their snack containers. I know a couple schools do where they have like a practice night where they come in and they practice opening their lunches. That's something you can do at home. So start a couple weeks ahead of time. We're going to have lunch in our lunch box. Let's practice. Can you open this up? As much as they can try and do on their own, they'll feel good about it. Zipping coats, tying shoes, all of that, putting on mittens and hats. Please imagine winter in a kindergarten classroom when we have 5 minutes to get them ready for lunch. So all the help you can do would be wonderful. Let's see, giving your child small jobs to help around the house. 2 other things that really on the first day of kindergarten, we like our students to know what the plan is for getting home for the day. We will, of course, triple and quadruple check how they're getting home, but it's really important that they have that independence and they can know and tell you, well, my mom's picking me up today, or grandpa's meeting me at the Walker line. So if they have a good feeling about how they're getting home, then they will feel more comfortable at school. And then also we like them to know their lunch choice. So a lot of students choose to get what we call hot lunch or school lunch, and some do pack their own lunch and bring their own lunch. So please let your child know what the plan is for that day, because that's something they have to then independently tell the teacher, this is my plan for the day. You can go ahead and click the next slide. Please know this is a lot of info. You will get everything you need from your child's school and teachers, but this is just a starting point. We wanted to really give you the information about social emotional learning because that might not be something you're most familiar with, and that really is the building blocks of kindergarten. And lastly, I wanted to say that I've taught in 6th, 2nd, and kinder, and found that kinder is really the sweet spot for me. It is a wonderful, magical year, and you're going to see so much growth in your child. So thank you.
Thank you, Lauren, and thank you, Tracy. At this time, I want to reintroduce our panel. who is going to be responding to some of the questions that were submitted on the registration form. So in addition to Joan and to Tracy and to Lauren, we also, as I said, have Sarah Nowak. She is the principal at Welch School. We have Lindsay Sepper. She is a student service coordinator at Brookdale. The student service coordinator is somebody that would work with helping you get services like speech or occupational therapy or physical therapy or any sort of additional services your child might need. So that's something that Lindsay is very knowledgeable about. Mary Molick is a first grade teacher at Owen. Luke Radajan is a kindergarten teacher at Georgetown. And Rianne Cascanaro is the social worker at Kendall. So I'm going to go ahead and read the question, and then whoever wants to jump in and share their thoughts, that would be great. So the first question that was asked is, will 204 have any sort of kindergarten roundup or meet the teachers or open houses before the school year ends, or early in the fall or in the summer so parents can learn more? So can somebody share a little bit about what those curriculum nights look like, what the open houses look like, and like what the meet the teachers look like?
Hi, I'm Luke Rotchen. I'm a kindergarten teacher. As I think Joan Peterson said earlier, there are 21 elementary schools in our district. So everything will look a little bit different district or school to school. So the best thing you can do is call your school and just ask them, say, hi, I have an incoming kindergartner this school year. What are some of the things that you're offering? Because I know that some schools already have done their kindergarten orientations. Some might be coming up in the next couple of weeks. But then most schools will be having a kindergarten screening over the summer. This is an opportunity for the kindergarten teachers to get to meet your student a little bit, see them in a different environment, and get to see some of the strengths that they're bringing with them into kindergarten. The first week of kindergarten, there should be an open house or meet the teacher event at your school. Like I said, if you call your main office, they'll be able to give you a lot more information on what that's going to look like. That's a great time for your student to come in and get to see their school, meet their teacher quickly, drop off some supplies. Any questions that you do have about curriculum can be answered at the curriculum night, which is usually within the first month of the school year, where we're able to give you a more in-depth look at what your child will be learning throughout the school year.
Thank you, Luke. Did anyone want to add on to that? That was a very comprehensive answer.
I would just add that those meet and greets will happen for K through 5. So if you have somebody that is new to the school or anybody coming in, those meet and greets exist K through 5, and it's usually like right before school starts, like the day before. And it'll be an opportunity, like Luke said, to drop off supplies and everything else. I just wanted to clarify that it is not just for kindergartners. It'll be for all grade levels.
Thank you, Mary. All right, so thinking about that curriculum night, another question that was asked, without going too far into depth because we will learn more about it at curriculum night, but what does reading and math instruction look like in kindergarten and first grade? Is there anything parents could be doing over the summer to help get their kids ready for that?
I can jump in on this one. So I guess, and Lauren mentioned this, one of the best things you can do is read, and read some more. Expose your children to all kinds of different books and opportunities. Point out to them that you're reading things when you're shopping in the store or signs that are on the side of the road. Mathematically, play games with numbers. But what you can expect is that we do spend just about 2 hours a day focusing on literacy skills with our students, and approximately 1 hour a day focusing on math skills. We have lots of content areas that overlap. So that doesn't mean that there isn't more literacy happening throughout the day or more math. But I loved that Lauren wrapped it up by saying her sweet spot was kindergarten. I will share with you that between the ages of 5 and 7, developmentally, in terms of social emotional growth and curriculum, it's a magical age. Kids grow so much, and wherever your child is in terms of literacy or math, wherever they are, we are ready to receive them at that level. So we just help move them forward, and that's also the same with SEL. But you can expect that we do things like rhyming, singing, letter and sound work. If you're some children come into kindergarten and first grade a little more developmentally prepared for reading and decoding and comprehending text. We're prepared for that, as is our curriculum. Our math instruction includes a lot of hands-on math work, but ultimately we want them to become math thinkers, not just math doers. and that starts as early as our little ones. So it's both of those content areas are fundamental and on a daily basis. Oftentimes it's where kids show their most creativity. They love to write about themselves. They love to write about their families. They love to draw pictures. And all of that, all of those early literacy skills are what we try to support to push them forward. And again, whichever developmental level your child is at in either of those two content areas, we are ready to support them and move them forward. There's tremendous growth that occurs.
Great, thank you, Joan. As Joan was speaking, somebody had asked a question about dual language learning. Would anybody be able to speak to how that looks with our English language learners?
So we don't have a formal dual language program as you may see in other districts. At Georgetown, we do have a bilingual program in some of our classrooms. You may be familiar with a dual language program that maybe you've experienced in another district, and ours is not as formalized.
One thing though is all English language learners, so the students that speak more than one language, maybe they have another language at home, a lot of the best practices for English language learners are just best practices for all students. So they're things that we're going to be doing in the classroom anyway. So it's going to be having sentence frames or sentence starters. It's going to be stopping frequently to be able to ask questions and check for understanding, being very implicit with how we, and intentional with how we are teaching academic language. Things like that are best practice for students who are English language learners are things that a lot of all first grade and kindergarten teachers are already doing.
And then I would just also, sorry. Do you want to go? I was going to talk about the home language survey that they'll fill out when they register. You can do that first. I'll go after you. Okay, perfect. So when you do register your child, you will fill out a home language survey, which does indicate if another language is spoken in the home. It doesn't necessarily have to be a language that your child speaks. It could just be one that they have exposure to in the home. And then if you do indicate that that is happening in your house, then your child will get screened to see if they potentially need English or ELL services, English language learner services. So it's just an extra support that they can receive to try to develop that skill. And we really see that as an asset that kiddos have because they speak more than one language, which is really great for them.
And that was a perfect segue. I was just going to say that all of our buildings have ELL certified staff that will work with ELL students, usually during like intervention blocks or win time, so they're not missing core instruction. And they'll have the opportunity to work with other ELL students at that time in smaller group settings, and then still be part of their regular classroom for the majority of the day. Great, thank you. Another question that was asked was, how do you get an evaluation for special education services or possibly an IEP if your child has not yet attended formal school? So like, where would you start with that process if you had concerns?
So if I had that concern right now, as a parent of a kiddo starting kindergarten in the fall, I'd probably reach out to your school student services coordinator and just explain, what's going on, what is causing you to have some concerns there. Sometimes kids have outside diagnoses, sometimes they have outside supports that they're receiving. Sometimes you're just concerned because you've noticed some things in the home. So contact your school student services coordinator, and then that person can kind of talk you through what that process would look like for your child. A lot of times it's going to be just knowing what your concerns are, so that we can be prepared to support those even right away at the beginning of the year, and then talk about what the timeline for that looks like. A lot of times if we are considering evaluating a child coming right to us from kindergarten, we'll want to get them acclimated to school for a couple weeks and then bring you in to talk about those more with a team who now has had the chance to get to meet and know and love your child.
So building off of this, maybe some of our classroom teachers or our social worker can speak to this. How are all students included in classroom activities, and what do inclusion opportunities look like for students with differing abilities?
So I can speak to the part with students with differing abilities. All of our students, whatever class they're in, attend specials, they attend the general education classroom, and they're all a part of a general education classroom. So for example, I work at a school with a self-contained program and an autism program, and all of our students in the autism program do receive, you know, those PE services, the art, music, I think that's it, lunch, recess, all of those things. And they are like truly included within their general education classroom that they're assigned to, even though they may have a different classroom that they go to during the day. So it's really great to see those inclusion opportunities for our students and how the other students really kind of bring them under their wings and include them in a lot of the things that they do.
Additionally to specials and lunch and recess, our students that may have other classrooms they belong to are also incorporated into the general education classroom at various opportunities, usually for our SEL block, sometimes during our guided reading stations. So depending on the kiddo and what their needs are, there are lots of opportunities to get them into the general education classroom and get them socializing and learning with their peers.
So the next question that was asked is, what should I do if I feel like my child is not making enough progress either socially or academically? And what is the best way to communicate with my child's teacher?
I was going to say I would definitely start by reaching out to the classroom teacher in whatever way you're most comfortable. If an email is easiest, or call that teacher and leave a voicemail, obviously understanding that they're with your children during the day. So oftentimes time is definitely limited, but we definitely encourage and want parents to reach out and seek clarification and share concerns and collaborate and team with us to make sure that we're doing everything that we can to make sure that your children are growing the most that they can. So the more communication, the better.
Yep. And I was going to say basically the same thing. Teachers, we all want to partner with you. We want to collaborate with you. And it honestly provides the most structure and support for your kiddos when parents and families are able to work together as a team.
Another thing is that if a parent, if your child is struggling with like some social emotional stuff or maybe socializing with peers, speech things, do just reach out to your teacher, however that way is, usually email, and they can then send that information to us, and then we can kind of talk to you about like what your concerns are as far as any developmental delays or things like that.
And just to add on to what Brianne said, 204 is very passionate about our mental health and passionate about SEL. So all of our buildings have social workers. All of our buildings have student service coordinators. So not only is the teacher, but there's a whole team of people ready to support your child either academically or socially, emotionally. All right. The next question, we get asked this a lot. And I know that when I sent my daughters off to kindergarten, I had this question too. Can we talk a little bit about bus procedures and how kids will be guided to their classrooms? Because as a parent, I was very worried that my daughter would just wander off and end up in the wrong place. So could we kind of talk a little bit about how the buses work the first few days, how we know our kids get to their classrooms and then get back on the right buses?
Mm-hmm. So depending on the building, it'll look a teeny bit different, but at every single elementary school for all students, not just kindergarten and first grade students, but for all of them, we have every single staff member, in addition to a plethora of staff members from district office, there to support not just that first day, but that first kind of couple of weeks, making sure that students are greeted, that they know where they're going, that they're not just told go down that hallway, but they're escorted to their classrooms. A lot of the buildings utilize older students. Some of our fifth grade students really like to take on that role as a guide. So that is both entering the building and then exiting the building too. It's a very clear protocol. We take attendance on every single school bus, on every single daycare. Again, not just for that first day, but throughout that first few weeks until we know that the students know where to go and that also the adults know where each of the students go. one of the biggest thing that we encourage is for the parents to communicate with the school, with their teacher, with the office staff of dismissal plans, if there's dismissal changes, because there's nothing worse as a child or as a parent not being sure how your child is getting home. In addition, all of the buildings use a little bit of a different strategy, but everybody has some sort of bag tag or something that notes how a child gets home. So any staff member in the building, regardless of if it's their classroom teacher, can look and identify how they're getting home. That is definitely something that I would encourage families to work on with their children. They should know their first name and their last name and be able to share that with an adult that they're not super familiar with, and kind of go through and make sure that they have that plan, just like that was shared earlier. That's really important to build that confidence.
Another question that was asked is, if I have a first grader who did not attend public school for kindergarten or did not attend kindergarten at all, what type of support is there for helping that child transition into school?
As Joan said, or as Mrs. Peterson said, we meet every student where they're at. So depending upon where that student comes in, we have a plethora of supports and curriculum that we can meet that student wherever they're at, with phonics, phonemic awareness, letter name and sound, and then up through all of the reading comprehension strategies. So if a student has not attended kindergarten, we will continue to just meet them where they are and support them in whatever areas they are in need of.
And then lastly, we all know that safety is our #1 priority. And as parents, as educators, we want to make sure that our students feel safe and secure in their buildings. So can we talk a little bit about school safety and how that's taught to our students and what it looks like?
As a parent myself, I know that school safety is something that I'm always thinking about and talking about with my own girls, not just at school, but in any social situation, anytime they go out. All of Indian Prairie School District schools have very clear protocols for safety. We have secured buildings, so there's only one point of access. Anytime a visitor comes to the building, they have to ring a bell and be greeted by someone in the main office who will ask them to state their name and the reason for their visit. Of course, they say it nicely. And then they'll be buzzed in and asked to come to the office, where they will be asked to show an ID that we run through a system. So we make sure we know who they are and that they're who they say they are. And then all of our visitors are tagged. Anytime that they're not just in the building, but doing anything in the school. I just sent out an email about Field Day, which is coming up. So that's obviously outside, but all volunteers must be tagged. In addition to that, we do practice different drills and different safety procedures, including a shelter in place, which we might do in severe weather. We have fire drills. We practice secure and teach, hold in place and teach, different safety drills too. Throughout all of them, we use very kid-friendly language. The intent is not to scare or make children worried about it. The intent is really to educate and make sure that they feel comfortable and confident in what they need to do in any sort of emergency situation. And really in any situation, the expectations are that they know the plan, that they are following the directions and listening to the adults. So again, we do that in very kid-friendly language. It looks a teeny bit different from kindergarten, obviously through secondary. But the goal is the same for all, just that everyone knows what to do and that they feel comfortable and safe.
Thank you, Sarah. All right, as we wrap up, I want to take a moment and thank Joan and Lauren and Tracy, as well as our panel. And we know whether this is your first child going to school or whether this is your middle or last, it's an exciting time. It is a little bit of an emotional time, and that the school staff at 204 is here to support you and to guide you through it. And we want both you and your child to be successful as they start the school year and they continue through it. You're always welcome to reach out to building principals, your child's classroom teacher once those get assigned closer to the start of school, student service coordinators if you do have questions about extra services. There is an entire team of people who are ready and willing and want to help your child have the best experience possible in 204. So with that, I will say good night and thank you for coming.